Hello, and welcome to my first impressions video of Disney Villainous, Success at Any Cost, featuring Ernesto de la Cruz and Prince Hans. I have been waiting for these villains for a very long time, so let's not wait any longer and talk about our component list. Our movers look absolutely amazing as always, really just works of art. I'm not sure why they went with the orange for Ernesto de la Cruz for the exclusive mover. I would have preferred a full white, but it still looks very nice, especially the gradient. Hans's mover is a little bit thinner than I imagined, but it makes sense with all the frozen rings he's going to be placing. Speaking of the frozen rings, I wish they were a little bit thicker, but they still look very nice and perfectly usable. Unfortunately, this box also has strength tokens. I am not a fan of strength tokens mechanically or component-wise. Fortunately, mechanically, they are very negligible in this expansion. However, component-wise, they have not fixed the underlying issue, which is, this is still the same strength set from Bigger and Badder. What that means is that all of the strength tokens are -2s and -3s, with very few positives, and these characters do not reduce strength that much. So I do hope they will eventually fix that problem. It's not all bad though. In this expansion, we have some absolutely amazing artwork. The pictures shown are some of my favorites, but these pictures do not do these artworks justice. This is maybe one of the most beautiful expansions they've ever released. And that's going to be it for our components. Moving on to our first character, we have Ernesto de la Cruz, our headliner himself. Ernesto de la Cruz's goal is to have all 6 photo tokens face down. He starts with 1 face down, so he needs to flip the other 5, but the 1 can be flipped back face up. When I first heard of this expansion, I thought, oh, so it's going to be like Gaston, where you do some progress here and there, and then the fate deck is going to replenish the project, and it's going to be a lot of push and pull. I don't think that's the case for Ernesto. Instead, he really wants to do big swings and flip all 5 at once, or all 6 at once, or 4 at a time, or 3 at a time, and he doesn't really want to be left with 1 or 2 photo cards face up, which is very interesting. However, I would be very remiss not to mention that he can win on his very first turn. This is done by playing Forgetting Me and playing Poco Loco to bring out either Dante or Miguel. Dante just brings out Miguel. I am not a fan of Ernesto being able to win before the opponent takes their first turn. Granted, that would have to be done with the introduction to Evil rule set. However, this is still 5 cards flipped even on your second or third turn, and that's still very good. It makes him a huge threat. You really do have to be always fading him, because you never know how he might win, because there's always a possibility that he could, and that is his true strength. I think he's going to be a little bit better than he actually is, just because of that very small possibility that he could just win. On to some of his other cards and his realm. Ernesto de la Cruz mostly relies on security guards for vanquishing, which is extremely powerful ally that just moves a hero to their location. And what they do is that they set it up for Seizure Moment, which allows him to discard an ally, which is no big deal, to remove all the heroes at that location and flip that many photo cards. And this is absolutely an insane way to end the game. So you can either get lucky and win quick, or you can set it up so that at the end you can do another massive swing. Once again, really a character you always have to be on the lookout for. He can always pull a win out of nowhere. His realm has 3 double play actions, which is absolutely insane. It is an incredibly good realm for playing cards, though not necessarily for fading, but I do think that's a good thing considering how quick he is. I will say I'm not entirely sure he needed to be our first triple double play villain. His deck is pretty expensive, so you're really only utilizing one of those double plays. If you can utilize both, that's great, and it just makes those locations even better. Moving on to some of his heroes. He does have these heroes and effect to flip the photo cards. He also has Remember Me, which is an extremely powerful effect, a la That Was Totally Wicked. But you can't really depend on these heroes. So every progress he makes, even if it's just flipping one card, is extremely vital to him and hard to undo. Especially because until 1942 and Mama Imelda, they are very specific in which cards you can flip back over. And he has ways to use this to his advantage and not have them be played to their fullest extent. Overall, an incredibly powerful villain. I was not a huge fan of him at first, but more times playing him and as against him, he's grown on me quite a lot. He doesn't always win on his first turn, but you always have to be wary of him, no matter what turn of the game it is. Moving on to Prince Hans. I am absolutely loving Prince Hans. What Prince Hans has to do is freeze his entire realm with the frozen rings, and then defeat Anna and Elsa, removing them from the game. I am a big sucker for cards that remove from the game when removal from the game is a rarity. Usually you just go in the discard or something. Nope, these guys are completely out. And I adore that. We also have the card Finish Each Other's Sandwiches, which is a card that is a very interesting condition, but I'm just happy Finish Each Other's Sandwiches is here. This was the card I wanted the most when I heard Prince Hans was coming in. Prince Han can do some absolutely amazing combos with his allies, the Duke and Eric. After you get an effect from the Duke, you can just play it with your play card action and have Eric move someone around for helpful positioning if a hero goes to a place you weren't expecting. All in all, very nice. And just makes for some very satisfying combo plays of all of your effects. And you do have quite a lot of effects. Which does bring me to a few things I'm not quite a fan of. He has a lot of effects, and he wants to be playing all of them. All of his cards are incredibly good, usually no matter what point in the game they are at. What this means is that you don't really discard too much because you're playing all these amazing effects. However, they are very samey. They all just place frozen rings. And you do need a lot of frozen rings. At least 12 to flip the realm the first time, but I still would have liked to have seen a little bit more variety, maybe place Frozen Ring and do a Vanquish action or something like that. I'm also not a huge fan of the Wolves card. I understand that cards that have specific names, like Toby, will appear multiple times for different characters. However, for a generic card like Wolves, I would have liked to have seen some more differentiation, and especially because Gaston has wolves that matter where other wolves are, but these wolves don't count, so it can get a little bit confusing. Effects don't bother me as much, like Ernesto has whatever it takes, same as Cruella, but I think wolves is a bigger offense because whatever it takes, they both say. Wolves, you could have done something like winter wolves, and that would have solved that problem. And then lastly, little bit of a personal wish. I just wish that the removal from the game was based on fully frozen locations and not on anyone else's specifically, so that whenever you defeated any hero at a fully frozen location, they are gone. And this never really happens in board games, not just Villainous, but any board game. But I still would have liked to see, and I really do love removing things from the game. And that's going to be it for my first impressions. I think Ernesto is going to be a real threat in the making. It's not that he will win, it's that he can win, and you have to respect that. And that's going to make people, myself included, play suboptimally against him by fading when they really should not be in making progress instead. Hans, I'm having an absolute blast with. I love removing the sisters from the game, and I'm looking forward to see more like this in the future. I do think that this is probably not the best introduction to Villainous as a whole, but this could make for an amazing first expansion. And that will be all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Goodbye.